Hello, my friends. It's Jade back with another video. And today we are going to be reading another SCP story. So, in the comments of one of my last ones, I believe it was a player by the name of Greenseek suggested that we review SCP-106, who is known as the Old Man. So, without further ado, let's get right into the story. Alright, so before we get into the story, we're going to go over a little bit of background information about this SCP. So as I said, this is SCP-106, known as the Old Man, or often also the Boogeyman. His name is apparently Lawrence. Did not know that. He is, so some of his powers include corroding any solid matter on contact. He has superhuman strength. He has the ability to go through solid matter. He is immortal. He has very sharp claws. And he apparently has control over his own little dimension. And then it's got a little list of his hobbies. Apparently his hobby is pulling victims inside of his pocket dimension before toying with them and killing them. That's an interesting little hobby you got there, bud. Nah, I can't say that I have the same one. Some of his goals are to escape the SCP Foundation and to cause pain and suffering. That's nice. Just everyday goals. His crimes, oh my gosh, include mass murder, including children. It has a little note. Unlawful imprisonment, mutilation, psychological abuse, cannibalism, kidnapping, slavery, stalking, treason, and torture. That's nice. And it says that he is also an elderly Satanist. Gotta love that. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, it's got a little clip of a sound he makes. Are you guys ready for this? I didn't like that. Alright guys, so now we're going to be reading a little story. So, the true origins of SCP-106 are technically a mystery, but there are two leading theories as to what caused his creation. And we are going to be reading one of them, which is called Corporal Lawrence, which, if you remember in the introduction part of the video, I said that his name is apparently Lawrence, so we're about to find out why. Alright. This is a tale regarding a man by the name of Lawrence, a corporal during the First World War. Lawrence was described as a plain man without any noteworthy features, whose voice, appearance, and behavior made him come off as bland. None in the trench, because they fought in trenches in World War I. None in the trench Lawrence was in could recall a time when the man raised his voice, either in anger or joy. Instead, he would keep to himself, making no mention of his past. Not even the group of soldiers he first arrived with knew anything about him. While not violent or malicious, Lawrence was not without fault. Often he would be found staring for longer than what was comfortable at others. He barely, if at all, slept, and in the few times he was seen doing so, others would hear him talk near constantly. One time, a fellow bunkmate heard Lawrence mutter his daughter's name, even though he never told him. Despite his reserved manner, or because of it, many of Lawrence's fellow soldiers were unnerved by him. For wherever the man went, a sickly, sweet stench, the smell of rot, followed. All who shared bunks with him suffered trench foot, and, before long, rumors began to circulate, many having come to believe Lawrence was cursed. Eventually, after a prolonged period of silence from the enemy trench, Lawrence and the 14 others were sent across no man's land to check and see if the trench had been abandoned. Once they arrived, the group was greeted to a horrible sight. Every single enemy soldier was dead, each having been savagely mutilated, the walls and corpses covered in a foul-smelling black sludge, bodies and body parts all so violently maimed that even the hardiest of men were soon vomiting. Amongst all this, Lawrence and a fellow soldier discovered in a room one room in a small hole, filled with the same disgusting slime that covered the dead. When Lawrence crouched down to investigate, he slipped and fell headfirst in, moments later crawling back out drenched with the black slime. Once the group returned to their own trenches and the story of what they saw was told, it was here that many began to notice a slight change in Lawrence. Gone was the quiet and reserved man. In his place was a person who would greet people with a wide smile as he rambled on about destruction, pleasure, and the joy of enclosed spaces. When some tried to silence Lawrence, all he would do is grin wider. A fellow soldier awoke once to find Lawrence hovering over him, eyes wide and glowing white. The next day, the soldier was found entangled in barbed wire with his intestines spread out in a neat pattern. Oh my gosh. By the time reinforcements came to relieve those in the trench, many were dead or dying from a mysterious sickness. Men who went to bed healthy awake to find their flesh rotting straight off the bone. A sergeant was found engulfed in unusually aggressive rats, who attacked several others before his mostly eaten corpse could be recovered. Of all these people, Lawrence was the only one who lived, being transferred to a French hospital at which he assaulted a nurse, resulting in her losing 3 fingers and an eye. From here, he would spend most of his time rambling to patients about chasing people in dark holes. A few times, he would disappear altogether, returning as if nothing had happened. When asked where he went and how, Lawrence would respond by singing, "My Bonnie lies over the ocean," in a monotone voice until he was left alone. Sorry, it didn't actually say to sing it in the story, but I wanted to sing it. Anyways, a foul and musty stench soon filled the ward he was in, during which he would spend most of his time humming and rambling off the names of those around him, many patients dying from the same rotting sickness that plagued the trench he came from. One day, by means none are sure of, Lawrence and 18 others vanished. The ward they had been in covered in an oily black substance, this black goo causing all it touched to rot and corrode. One nurse then flipped over a mattress, finding under it a black hole. Inside said hole, a perfect circle made from the teeth of 17 men. After this, Lawrence was never heard from again. The story of the cursed trench was being brushed off as stories as the war continued. Even still, more tales were told of men vanishing, being found alive, yet horribly disfigured, of deaths that could not be explained, and of a shadowy figure stalking the war-torn countryside. Alright, so that was an interesting story. I liked that one. I think that's probably one of my favorite SCP stories that we've read. I don't know, maybe it's because I love World War I and World War II. Not because they happened, just I like learning about them. One of my favorite topics in history classes. But let me know in the comments what you guys thought. And also, give me some other suggestions. I mean, like, I need some more ideas. There's lots of SCPs out there. There's like, what, 3,000 or something? I don't know, there's probably more. But give me some suggestions in the comments, or if you want me to cover more stories of SCPs we've already covered, we can do that. Maybe if you leave enough likes, we can read the second story of SCP-106. But, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.